Everyone, we are here with writer-director Erik Bloomquist, and he has an awesome new film coming out January 19th called Founders Day. Erik, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm well, I'm well. Okay, so Founders Day. Can you just basically give me the elevator pitch? Tell me what Founders Day is.
Small town on the cusp of its 300th anniversary Founders Day celebration, which is also a few days before a very contentious mayoral election in a small town called Fairwood. One of the candidates' kids is attacked and dies, and it becomes a hot button political issue about how to proceed, whether or not to proceed, and generally what it means for the town, done in a fun, satirical way.
It felt very Scream. It felt very I don't know, it had a lot of uh, classic slasher touches that I thought was really clever. Um, and one of the things that I cracked up about was the list of characters and the the cast of suspects and everything. What were some of the things that you had to have when you and Carson were developing the script? What were the things that you were making sure to check off?
We were very interested from the beginning, and this has been a long gestating project. I mean, the first draft of the script was like a decade ago, and it's just kept evolving. But throughout all the incarnations, we wanted to have a youth ensemble and an adult ensemble because I think that uh, these movies are, of course, built on young adults that are, in high school settings, and I love those linchpins of the genre. But I think often you don't get as much of a view of the adults in the town or parents and how it's affecting them and having them be active participants in it. So that was really important to us. And I think that having the election piece of it and having this kind of ill-fated, almost like Montague Capulet, Romeo and Juliet thing with the candidates' kids was a really fun way to make those worlds intersect. And then my character is kind of a bridge between those two worlds. Is like a young adult in the town who has graduated but has stayed in the town, and same with another police officer. So
Mhm.
just having a real ensemble where it seemed like everybody either knew or knew of and had opinions about each other was a way where we could build conflict and comedy.
Mhm. And you had, you had your final girl, which we'll get to in a minute. And that's not much of a spoiler. Every slasher has a final girl.
Yeah.
Every one. But you had the bad boy, uh,
Mhm.
the crazy girl, you had the police officer that was, just maybe a little too sus, but kind of
Yeah.
sad, Billy Columbo. I mean, you had all these check boxes that was just hilarious to me because it was just you got it. Um,
And I think a lot of those people, I mean, there's the characters that are slightly larger than life. It's kind of a commentary on an ego and wanting to be seen and perceived a certain way, right? Like these politicians are such blowhards, both talking about nothing. Like the police are kind of posturing a little bit. You have these two like derelict kids that are just looking to cause chaos, just absolute tornadoes. And these are all people that I have known in real life, just slightly amplified for our commentary purposes. And that's been just really fun to play with. So you have kind of like the straight characters, like the final girl, like the teacher, like the dad, that are at the center of this whirlwind of people that are driven by ego and balancing that.
okay, I have to ask. As far as Commissioner Peterson, okay, first of all, Catherine Curtin,
Love. Hmm. So good.
she's so good. But her sucker, was that in the script or was that something she threw in?
No, I pitched this idea of thinking that it'd be funny if she ate at inopportune times, and then she liked the idea of the Tootsie Pop for the because she wanted to do a Kojak and Columbo throwback. She was pulling from that, and I said, okay, that's great. And then that just evolved into her being a candy lover, which again creates friction with some other characters, like when she's interrogating people and candy is offered at inopportune times. But the sucker also just became like a real think piece for her. Just like literally, like when she was chewing on something, she would be
Sure.
chewing on the Tootsie Pop. But that's such a, I love that performance because it is so weird, but not like not like full clown. Do you know what I mean? Like I think
Right,
that
right. It's a big character, but it's not caricature.
yeah, and I think she does such a beautiful job of that, and you know, and I hope that's clear from her very first scene that she's that's who she is. That character was also written originally um as an older man, just the way it was written, like a Robert Forster type, which uh of course we've seen and works, but we had this thought because I knew Kathy, and I think Carson was like, what if we pivoted? What if we
No,
just
that
did it
was the right choice.
Kathy?
That's
Yeah, and then we make it like almost like a female Chief Wiggum meets Kojak and Columbo. And we and we were like, oh, that'd be
oh
super
my
fun. Yeah.
goodness.
And we didn't have to change the script too much. Like we did little things, but we just kind of like let it stay written as it was. And
Yeah,
we just let her play with it. And I love it. I think it's such a great choice, and it adds just a really beautiful color to the film and a really fun color to the film.
that's a little trick that Donald Pleasance talked about doing. He would always have something in his hand he was about to do, deliver a line, and then so that the editor wouldn't cut away from him.
That's great.
So, like he would say something like a toast or something and then drink his drink, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he wanted to hold the camera on him.
That's
So,
great.
yeah, so let's talk about your final girl.
Yes.
I love that there was queer representation in it. That's phenomenal, but it wasn't, it's just part of it, which
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was just like it made sense for the narrative structure. We were like, okay, for it, like, because there's kind of a love square in the movie. I mean, it's it's high school. Everything's high. The stakes are so high, and so there's this kind of love square, and for that to make sense, that's what it was, and that's there's nothing more to it than that.
no, that's exactly how it should be. But how did you end up casting Naomi Grace? And how did she get the role?
She was new. She read for it. We typically build these things out with some people that have worked with us before, just as kind of linchpins within the repertory company that we've been building of actors. And then we build out from there. And she was someone who read for it, and she was very strong, and she's just a very like bubbly, sweet, like wants to do the thing person. Um, and we're so happy to have her, and she just brought a really good work ethic and sense of fun to the set, and just got along with everybody, and was which is obviously so important with someone who's in so much of the movie and knows everybody in the movie. So she's so lovely, and I'm so happy for her because I think this was the first I think this was the first film she's done. A bunch of TV, but this was the first like indie feature that she shot. So
Yeah,
I was
she's good. The camera loves her,
yeah, yeah.
and she was just fun to watch. Um, so when did you guys shoot this and where?
We shot this late 2022, November 2022, in a small town in northwestern Connecticut, where they've also shot like I think some of My Soul to Take was shot there, some of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was shot there, some of Mr. Deeds was shot there. Um, but just something that was like 20 minutes from anything, literally anything. So that was it was this little bubble, and it was just really cool to be there for that time. And we filmed all over the town and inside municipal buildings, and um, a lot of the residents were involved as background actors and stuff like that. So it was I love shooting like that in small towns because you really get to be part of a community. Like you get to see different corners of the community you wouldn't if you were just visiting, and you get to just have this heightened sense of purpose when you're there. So we had a great time.
That's awesome. You mentioned that the first iteration of this script was like 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Okay, but it it's such a sharp political commentary aside from just being a slasher. I mean, like, I don't know what the question is, but it just to me it's just like, how did you nail that so hard? I mean,
Carson had the thought because I think it was probably November 2021 or something, and like election signs were up, and he's like, what if we add an election component to this? And I was like, great, because that gives shape to the adult characters. It adds that second conflict. It makes the worlds combine. It's really good imagery. It raises the stakes. And we always wanted this movie to be in the afterglow of Halloween. It's not a Halloween movie, but we wanted it to feel, and you do in this movie, you see little jack-o'-lantern somewhere, or the movie theater's still kind of orange and glowing. And we were like, oh, whoa, if Founders Day is early November, then Election Day is the first Tuesday in the month. So literally the whole movie can take place right after Halloween, and you can have all these things kind of happening at the same time. So it really just did raise the stakes, and that was the moment where everything it made the mystery more mature, it made the characters clearer, and it made the conflict and comedy just kind of go just lock right in. Which is great because ultimately too, like we're not looking to make some giant like deep cut political ideology message. It's much more about systems of power and how people can manipulate those, whether they realize it or not, to serve their own ends.
Right. And at the end of the day, it's a slasher.
Yeah,
You
exactly. And I
So
think it's
we
complicated.
can, and that's what horror does. We can take it and look through this funhouse mirror and be silly with it and enjoy it. So,
Especially with like, I mean, I think I said this to someone else, like giant egos within a small infrastructure of local politics. Like it's a mayoral election and you have people with like picket signs yelling in the street, like which is hilarious because it is kind of far-fetched, but also like it's not that far-fetched because people get so up in arms about this stuff at the local level, and it just feels so amplified. It feels so much bigger because it's so small. And
right,
and we like to make those kinds of movies, high stakes at the micro level where things feel bigger because they're smaller.
right. And then at the end of the day, people get stabby, you know,
Stabby, stabby, yeah.
and then you have a movie. Um, so like I said, Founders Day is coming out a week from today, January 19th. It's going to be hitting over 600 theaters. Are there any, forgive me, are there any VOD plans or no?
There will be. It'll be on VOD in a few months, but we're theater exclusive to start, and I hope that those who are eager to crack a mystery or laugh a bunch with a crowd of people will go and check it out because I think there's no replicating that. Though we're excited to bring it home too. I think this is a really great way to kick it off.
No, it definitely needs to be seen on the big screen and with a group of just avid fans. So, Erik, thank you so much for taking this time.
Thank you.
And keep making these fun movies because
That's the hope.
they're the best. Erik, give Carson my regards and everyone Founders Day, January 19th, and check it out.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Erik.